We explain the journeys of the Austronesians. Before Zheng He, Ibn Battuta, and Marco Polo set off on their journeys, and long before the Age of Exploration, while even before the Greeks, the Romans, the Zhou dynasty, and the Classical Age, there was a group of explorers that were navigating the Pacific Ocean. They were known as the Austronesians. As far as we currently understand in 2020, the sailing culture of the Austronesians developed independently from the developing classical and post-classical world. The common consensus is they shared an oceanic mythology of a creation by the god Tangaroa and a Mother Earth and Father Sky. However, the regional breakdown of South Pacific exploration is being debated. On one hand, you have the prevailing theory, which for the longest time was the slow boat theory. The theory argues that the Austronesians' origins came from Taiwan, where they also discovered the secret of the canoe-building process that led them to the Philippines about 3000 BC, before then arriving in New Guinea region, where a previous culture known as the Melanesians had settled after leaving the Malaysian area. The two cultures then merged to become the Lapita culture in 2000 BC. From there, they would eventually continue to sail east into Polynesia and become the Polynesians. The other theory is the express train theory, based around current DNA evidence of 4 prehistoric Lapitian women. This theory argues that the Lapita culture skipped by Melanesia and kept sailing into Polynesia. The theory argues that it was much later, 2,000 years or so, that male explorers from Melanesia would sail east and begin mixing with the established Polynesian Lapitans. Regardless of which theory is right, the big story is that humans were traveling 11,000 miles on open seas while Harappa, Stonehenge, and Manoa were in their infancy. While the empires of the Northern Hemisphere rose and fell, the Austronesians developed advanced skills in navigating by the stars, currents, and the wind, and by identifying wildlife, flora, and fauna. To withstand the winds and currents of the Pacific, they built 2 types of canoes, one that had outriggers and the other one that doubled up like a catamaran. They used a dual engine of sails and paddles. By 1300 BC, they had moved into the Polynesian Triangle. Fiji, Samoa, and Tonga by 300 BC, and Tahiti by 300 AD. Then it was on to Easter Island by 400. Hawaii was also in 400. And today's New Zealand by 1000, where they settled and became the Maori people, trading with established Australian Aborigines. Also, based on recent fossil evidence, it's now believed that they may have arrived in South America before the Europeans and introduced the chicken. Wherever they traveled across the South Pacific, they carried chickens, pigs, dogs, and also fruits and vegetables like coconuts, bananas, yams, breadfruit. In many islands like Hawaii, a ruling hierarchy developed. Also, to preserve the island's resources, 3 levels of economic activity were put in place. The economic system regulated what could be done on each part of the island. Shells were used to make potteries and tools, and they were skilled wood carvers and farmers. They lived a comfortable Neolithic lifestyle led by military leaders and priests. The Austronesian people passed knowledge orally, having no written language. They didn't use metal, but they still managed to create a complex culture connected across the Pacific with shared stories and values and elaborate artwork. They remained isolated until the first Spanish encounter in the 1590s.